Hello and welcome. Today we are going to be doing a get ready with me. This is a first impressions video for the most part with a bunch of new products. So we have the new Givenchy foundation. We have a cream blush from Neen. We have the new Rabanne palette and mascara. We have the Christian Louboutin lip gloss in Nudie Rosy, which I think is the strangest name, and so forth. So we've got a ton of new products that we're going to look at. And I also have a wear update at the end of the day, so you can see how everything kind of performed throughout the day. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we're going to start off with the Danessa Myricks. So this is the blurring balm powder in Universal in the original matte, and this is the new radiant version. So you can see the outside packaging, the color is going to be a little different. This is more of a reddish brown, whereas this one is going to be more of a coppery gold. The packaging does come with a little utensil here so that you can dispense your product. And I often like to just apply this with a brush underneath foundation. So we're going to do half the side, half my face with the radiant and half of it with the matte. Wow, that was pretty hard to open up. So this is the difference between the radiant and the matte in the pan. And you can see that when you touch it, it's actually very soft and creamy in texture. So I'm gonna swatch these on the hand here as well, so you can kind of see the difference here. That's our radiant. And, oh, I didn't pick up very much. Here we go. Here is our matte. So matte and radiant. We're going to kind of let those sit while we apply this to my face. So I'm actually using the Westman Atelier. This is like a very large brush from Westman Atelier, and you really don't need much of this. I think that was actually a little bit too much, so I'm wiping off the brush and just going to put this on. And you can see that we're still getting the blur effect. This is our radiant side, but we do have a little bit of a radiance to it. So it definitely gives you a radiant glow without looking greasy. So I wiped the brush off before going in for our matte. And let's do, again, let me wipe off some of that extra on the brush. And this is our matte. So let's see how they compare. So we have the radiant and the matte here. Let me know what you think. And then we're going to try out actually the new Givenchy foundation. So I have shade 0.5N. In their previous foundation, I would wear, it was like 195. And they said this was equivalent. So I don't have the older one to swatch any longer, but let's test it out and see if it works. So up close, this is our packaging. Very similar to the previous packaging. You can see we do have like our shade numbers darker and so forth, but as for the actual bottle design and so forth, it does seem to be about the same as before. And I'm going to just put this a little lower on my wrist because I have the Danessa Myricks swatches there. So, and let's go ahead and we'll test this out. It definitely is more of a serum style texture. This is the Mizuho foundation brush. This is a synthetic brush that I think is really great. It's also not very expensive. So if you're ever placing like a food aid order and you need something to get to like a shipping minimum, this is always one of those great products to add to your cart. They also make great gifts and they're fantastic with cream blush as well. So as for this foundation, you can see I do have to build up the coverage a little bit. It's definitely going to be like a lighter coverage. And this is half the face. And let's go ahead. We'll put it on the other side. Then we'll see if you can tell a difference between the Danessa Myricks in the radiant versus matte version as well. All right, so here's the foundation on top of the Danessa Myricks Radiant versus the matte. I have to say, with it underneath, I don't notice much of a difference. However, this is going to give you a little bit of glow from the foundation itself. It's just sometimes, you know, you can see more of a difference with those. You know, I'm not sure how I like how this applied, so I'm actually going to remove this. We're going to try the foundation one more time. So I'll be back. I'm going to go wash my face. All right, so I washed my face, sprayed it with the VLF, our Boom Boom Milk, And now, instead of going with the Danessa Myricks, let's see if using the Swatch primer underneath makes a difference. I've never had an issue with the Danessa Myricks though with any foundation, so I don't really think it was that causing the issue. It might be the foundation. So I just felt like it didn't apply evenly, and I would have to say that the shade on this I think is slightly more yellow than the shade I used to use. All right, so let's try this again, and I cleaned my brush off and everything, but we'll stick with the same brush style just in case. So let's see how this goes, at least for this side of the face, and then we'll switch brushes for the other side just in case something like that is causing an issue. We'll see if there are any issues though after this side. See, I feel like this is, I don't know. It looks a little bit better than before, but let's switch brushes. This is one of my favorites, the Koh Gen Do F04, formerly the Fupa 03. And let's see how this one does. It's another nice, dense synthetic brush. The other one, the Mizuho, is a little, well, it's dome shape and it's a little bit fluffier. So that one I think works really well with cream blush as well as foundation, whereas this one, I prefer using it just with foundation. I do have a mini version though that I'll use for cream blush sometime. So I do have a zit here, but you can see that this area, I just feel like it looks pretty blotchy, and I'm not sure why. Hair here. So I'm not concerned about the zit. It's more the actual cheek area. I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to play with the foundation more. It's not love right off the bat. So let me show you from a distance. So here's the foundation, and honestly, I think taking out the Danessa Myricks, it didn't help that much. I feel like it's a foundation. This side still, to me, looks just as bad. Now, my skin's not in great condition today, but it shouldn't have to be in great condition for a foundation to make it look good. So, yeah, I'm torn on this. We'll talk more about this in a bit. Before we move on, though, I just want to do a few shade comparisons. This is the LC5 from Prada, which is my Prada shade. You can see it's definitely going to be cooler in tone. Now, this is a matte foundation, and this is the Chanel BR12 in the new Ultra Le Tint Velvet, which is actually more similar to their BD01 in other formulas. So you can see that the Chanel is going to be more neutral. And then last up, this is Cle de Peau. This is the Radiant Natural in I-10, which is just, it's a little bit more beige. But you can see the difference amongst all of these. Prada LC5, this is 0.5 from Givenchy, Chanel BR12 in the Ultra Le Tint Velvet, which is super close to the BD01, and then this is going to be our Cle de Peau in I-10. And you can see that the Givenchy is a little deeper and more yellow. Now it's a very sheer formula, so you can get away with it being a bit deeper, but I don't think I really like the way it disperses. So I put back the swatches for the Danessa Myricks, and over here we have the glow version versus the matte version. You can see they're both going to give some blur to the skin. You know, it has this nice filter effect. The radiant version though is a little bit more yellow, like there's a little bit more of a golden radiance to it. It's not really noticeable on the skin though, it's pretty transparent still, but you can see between the two of them, you can kind of see color patches on my hand, where this one looks a little bit peachier in the matte, and the glow looks a little bit more radiant. They're both translucent, and honestly neither of them look gold in the pan, but that's just kind of how it goes on. Now I have to say I love the formula. It's one that I use a lot, particularly during the summer, because it does have Upsolite in it, which helps absorb oil throughout the day. And I'm going to continue using this, so I'll follow up on the Danessa Myricks products in a later video as well. But yeah, I have no reason to doubt that I would not like the Radiant one just as much. I actually think it looks really nice on the hand. All right, so now let's just move on. We're not going to use any face powder today. I want to kind of test the radiance of this, and we're going to use a cream blush. This is from Neen, and this was gifted to me. This is going to be the shade Koi, and this is the Going Rouge product. And let's go ahead. This is a cream blush. So let me go ahead and swatch this out here. Wow, it's going to be pigmented. So what I'm going to do here is actually make a swatch on my hand with the product. And then I'm going to take this Mizuho foundation brush and kind of swirl it in here and get some on there. And let me bring you in. So if you're not familiar with Neen, it's a relatively new brand. It's only been out, I want to say, a couple of years. And this is from the maker of Stila. So Janine Lobel. And can see really beautiful colors. It's available at Nordstrom, which is where I first saw it, and I was really interested in purchasing it, and I actually had a cart full of products when they reached out and offered to send me some items. So I have this. I have a few other products that we'll talk about another day, but here is Koi, kind of just dabbed on very lightly. Let me back you out. So here's Koi dabbed on very softly. You know, I don't need a ton of color from it, but it goes on easily. There's no texture to it. And where it's built up on my hand, it really just feels a little balmy, but not like a lot of the other cream blushes that have a bit more of that dewy balm. It's a drier balm. There is still some. So where it's built up, I do feel a little bit of the actual product, but it's not sticky or tacky. So this would be Koi. And you could definitely build it up to this color on your cheeks. So I think it's really pretty. So I will definitely do a wear update on this so we can see how long it lasts. Now, before we move on completely, I just want to show you the packaging of this. It's like a silicone case, which I think is pretty cool. So there's some flexibility to it. Not completely, because we do have it looks like a metal pan inside. And yeah, so I like the idea of this. It's kind of cool. My one complaint is I'm already getting Sadie hair stuck to it, and she hasn't even been around it yet. So just one thing to note there. But I think, you know, the actual blush looks great. For highlight, let's see, what should we use today? Let's use the new Chanel Illuminator. I really, really like this one. This is Halo. I'm going to bring you in. All right, so we've got Halo here, and I only need a little bit, so I'm spreading it out. Just going to tap a little bit on with my finger right up here. Maybe a little bit more than that. But you can see you get this really beautiful soft radiance here. And there's a tiny bit of a color shift, but when I use such a small amount, it's very, very subtle. So it's not really something that you pick up on. It's one of those like je ne sais quoi type products. Like not exactly sure what I'm seeing, but something's different. And then for eyes, let's go in with the new Rabanne handbag palette. So this is the new one that just came out called Don't Be Shy. And I have such a hard time opening boxes. This one, I'm repping it. I mean, it's just, I can't get this flap to come out. It's stuck for some reason. So there we go. So yeah, my boxes, they always get like partially demolished. So this is the handbag palette. And looks like packaging is exactly the same as the others. We still have the little holes here because you can hang these on a chain if you'd like. And then this is the actual palette. I think it looks really, really pretty. Let's take off the cover and look at that. So let's start off with some swatches here. Ooh, this is a creamy powder shade. I mean, this is really nice. It's a dark espresso with a touch of black. You know, it's not quite a brown black because there's not as much black as that typically it has, but it's pretty close to that. Then we have a shimmery pink. Again, very creamy formula for all of these. And this is going to be more of a russet cranberry. We got a touch of cranberry in there. And then this white shade here. Let's see how that goes. I have to say online, this looked more like purples. It's really not purple. So this is pink. This is more like russet with a touch of chestnut and cranberry. We have a white and we have a deep brown, almost black. So definitely not purple. The photos, I guess, are misleading in my opinion, but let's try it out. And a lot of you did recommend eye primers to me, so I actually purchased a few of them to try out. We're going to start off with the Trish McEvoy one. This is going to be the shade Demure. So let's put this on before the palette. So just going to apply a little bit, smudge it out with my finger. I might end up using a brush normally though. You can see that camouflages the lid nicely. It feels still smooth. It doesn't feel like a tacky primer. And by the way, I also picked up the new Rabanne mascara as well, the Rockstar. So we're going to test that one out today as well. All right, so I can feel now that this one has set, it felt very silky and creamy kind of going on. There is a little bit of moisture on it, so it will have a little bit of grip. But I like this color for my complexion. All right, so I'm going to start with the Rephr 01, and we're going to go into this deep shade. But I'm going to just use a tiny bit of product. So I've got this. I'm actually going to tap that off on my cloth to get rid of any excess. All right, so I did not powder this primer. We'll see if we need to or not, though. Sometimes if you don't powder it, I feel like they can look patchy, but other times that extra grip really helps. I think it really depends on the eyeshadow formula. So you can see I went in very softly with this shade, and it's blending out beautifully to give a really soft smoke. Wow, I like the way that's working. And again, this is really more of a creamy product. So a little, I added too much now. Let me go ahead and do the other eye, and then I'll blend that out a bit more. All right, so I wiped off the brush, and I'm just gonna kind of soften the area that went above the crease. So now I'm taking the Worker Pro from SUQQU. Let's go into this russety shade, and just, again, don't need a ton. It's a cream. Actually, texturally, it reminds me of the new Tom Ford textures in the creme palettes. The Olive Smoke and the Peach Glamour. This feels very similar. All right, let's go in with this pink shade next to that. And although the Tom Ford feels similar, I wouldn't say they feel the same per se, but there's definitely a similarity, in my opinion, with the textures. And this is definitely a better price point. So if you're not familiar with the handbag palettes, they've had different formulas out for quite a while. I'm just going to tap that over a little bit. And a lot of them have more mixed formulas in there. So like I have some that have like a creams and powders and so forth. But I feel like this one feels silkier than the creams that I have. So maybe they have improved the formula a little bit. Not that it was bad before. It was kind of hit or miss though, depending on the palette. But yeah, I'm really liking this. Taking the Chikuhodo T8 in the white, and we're going to put this one in the inner corner here. Look how bright that white is. I mean, that definitely adds some shimmer there. I like that. Definitely brightens things up. All right, and then I think for liner, let's go in with the deep shade. I'm going to take the Isom T05 in the dark brown. And I'm just going to stamp this along the lash line. I did get a little bit of fallout with that particular motion, but that's probably just me. I have to say I'm really loving these formulas. Okay, I'm just going to take what's left on the brush and just kind of do this outer portion a little bit. All right, I'm just going to curl my lashes for a second and do brows, and then we're going to move into the new Rabanne mascara, the Rockstar. All right, so here's the mascara. You can see we have black packaging all around, and then Rabanne here is kind of engraved, and we have a glossier black there. And then here is our brush, and it looks nice and fluffy. Okay, so I like the way this is applying. because it's not clumping, and it seems like, I mean, you're definitely getting product on each lash, but look how like fluffy that is. So you're getting like volume, but not that thickening volume. So it's more fluttery, which, I mean, you could definitely keep layering this on and get more of like the clumpy, more volumizing look, which I feel like is what I saw in some of the promo photos, but I like it this way. All right, so here are the lashes. You can see that they get a little fluffier, and if you put more layers on, you definitely get a bit more drama. So look at them here from a distance. I feel like I can always see the difference better from the side, but let me know what you guys think, whether it's easier to see the difference in mascara straight on or from the side. So again, I'll be doing a wear test today, so we'll see how all of these perform over the day, but first impressions are positive on that. All right, and then I really wanted to use the new Prada lipsticks today, but you know, I did mention in a previous video, I've been having some irritation around my lips from a product that I was testing. So I think I actually want to go with something a little bit more gloss-like. So we're going to use the Louboutin gloss, and I've actually used this a few times. I've been keeping it in the packaging because I'm not sure how to store this yet. But this is going to be the shade Smoky Nudie 392V. And I really like the actual product, but I mean, look at this. I feel like this amount here, I'd have to take a ruler and measure, but I think that this is less, it's shorter in length than if you take the golden portions that have no product. And of course, you know, it's narrowing here, it's cone shaped. So yeah, there's just not a ton of product in this, but so you can see the demo here as I apply this, but we have 4 milliliters of product in here, and it's made in Italy. There is a minty sensation, which honestly, I wasn't thinking about that when I decided to use that today. Probably not best because my lips feel very like wind chapped or sunburnt, essentially. That's how dry and irritated they feel right now. So it probably wasn't the best choice, but I do really like the actual gloss. So the mintiness and the tingling, it does kind of fade after a little while. And, you know, it definitely, you can see a little plumping from this. I wouldn't say like tons of volumizing from the lip gloss, but you do get a little bit. And I think it's a really nice nude shade. So texturally, these last longer on my lips than most other glosses. Nothing beats the Jimmy Choo, which I can't find any longer, but you know, these, you know, I would say they're on par more with lasting like a lipstick versus a gloss. So they seem to have a little bit more grip to the lip. So let's just take a look at a swatch of this. And again, this is the shade Smoky Nudie, which is going to be a nude brown shade with a touch of rose. It's still more brown than rose, but there is a little bit of that kind of a dusty rose in there, which cools it off a little bit, and I think just makes it a really nice, like everyday natural shade. Almost a my lips but better kind of shade. So this is Smoky Nudie. All right, so then this is the final look for today. And we're going to test out the performance of all of these products. And let's just do a quick summary of my current thoughts so far, first impressions on everything. Let's go backwards. So the lip gloss, I like the lip gloss. I've worn this maybe 4 or 5 times already. So it's one that, you know, I've got a little bit of experience with, and I find it to be very comfortable, pretty long wearing for a gloss. Again, the minty tingling is already starting to fade on my lips, so it doesn't last too long, and it's comfortable. So I like it, and there's no overpowering fragrance. There is a fragrance though, and it doesn't actually smell minty. It smells more perfumey, more floral. So just something to note. Again, working backwards, we looked at the Rabanne Rockstar mascara, which first impressions of this are great. For me, I like mascaras that add a little bit of lengthening, a little bit of volume, but they still look fairly natural. I don't want to look like I have, you know, clumpy lashes, and I also don't want to look like I have a ton of extensions. So I like things staying a little bit more natural. So just a couple coats of this mascara gives me more of that fluffy, fluttery lash look. And so we'll see how it performs. I didn't have the best luck with the original Rabanne mascaras, but I'm actually very hopeful for this one. So so far, I'm really liking that. And then we moved on to the handbag palette in Don't Be Shy, which again, it looked like it was purples online, but it's not. This is going to be a deep brown, a sparkly pink, a shimmery chestnut cranberry russet kind of shade all mixed together. You can see we've got more, the shimmer in here is a little bit more cranberry. And then we have a sparkling bright white. And although it's not exactly what I was expecting color-wise, I really like it. And the cream shadow formula here, they've perfected it. I think it's really, really nice. And it just feels very silky smooth, very much like the new Tom Ford creme palettes. If you've been wanting to try that formula, but you don't want to start off with a palette that's as expensive as Tom Ford, definitely check out the Rabanne. So as I mentioned, if you're not interested in this color story, they do have other palettes, but the formulas can be mixed. So if you want to try one with the formula closest to the Tom Ford, I'd stick with this one just to get an idea of it. But the palette has 2.3 grams of product. It's made in Italy, and there's an 18-month shelf life. And I forgot to mention the mascara has 8 milliliters of product and is also made in Italy, and it's a vegan formula. So just something to note there. The eyeshadow is also a vegan formula. Then we took a look at the Trish McEvoy eye base, and this is the shade Demure. And I have to say, I like the way it went on. We'll see how, I have to test it with a variety of formulas to see how much I like it. But so far, first impressions are definitely positive. This might be what I've been looking for. I like how it gives a little bit of camouflage there. You can blend it out, get a little bit of blurring and more of a matte base. And it comes in a ton of different colors. So you can pick one that is more suitable for your skin tone. We also did just a quick dab of the Chanel Liquid Illuminator in Halo, which I'm absolutely loving. You can see it gives a nice radiance there. You don't see much of that duochrome there, but what happens is just that it catches the light a little bit differently. So if you put on more, you might see a little bit more of a color shift, but when you use a more subtle application, you're really just catching different angles of the light a little differently. So I'm loving it. And then we also took a look at the Neen blush in Koi. And as I mentioned, this is a cream blush. It's made in the US. We have 2 grams of product. And I do want to note here on the actual blush, it says made in the USA. The actual paper cover it comes with says made in China. So I'm not sure if just the paper is made in China or, you know, if there has been a change in manufacturing and one piece hasn't caught up. So just something to note there. And with the silicone compact, it says the silicone compact can be easily cleaned with makeup remover and soap and water, and we can contact them to recycle. So this is also a refillable compact, so you can purchase refills to go in here. And I think that's really great. And I have to say, they sent me a little eyeshadow duo, which is the exact same size and packaging as this. So we'll test that out another time. So far, first impressions for the blush are positive. I put on a very light layer. It blended out beautifully. It's not tacky or sticky at all on the skin. And you definitely, you know, can build up to a very pigmented color. So I have high hopes for this, and we'll see how it wears throughout the day. Again, I'll be back with an update later on. And we took a look at the new Givenchy foundation, and this is the Glow Serum Foundation. And I have shade 0.5N, which is supposed to be equivalent to their 1N95 shade, which is what I wore previously. Now I have to say, the previous Givenchy foundations in the same packaging, there was a matte and a glow. I love them, particularly the Glow foundation. It was a go-to for me. I actually almost used up that whole bottle, and I absolutely loved that one. But for me, this one doesn't really compare. So you're definitely going to have more of a sheer to light medium build on this. You're not going to be able to build it up a ton, but I'm still feeling like it doesn't build super evenly and it gets a little bit patchy looking. So I'm not loving it. Shade wise, I feel like this shade is a little deeper and more yellow than what I was using previously. So this is a shade that Givenchy said was equivalent, but I think perhaps it's not quite there. So I'll have to be playing with the foundation more. We'll see how it wears today, but so far I'm not loving it. And then we took a look at the new Radiant Blurring Balm Powder from Danessa Myricks. It's a universal shade. And I have to say, I'm really liking this, and I will definitely be using this again in multiple videos. We'll do an update on this later because I did have to remove it to try that foundation again. And this was not the cause of my issues with the foundation, but you know, we'll try this out again later. I really like the way though that it gives kind of that subtle radiance, yet still has more of that matte texture on the skin. So happy with that so far, and we'll see that again later. So let's fast forward to our update for the day. So this is our first update, and my nose is a little red because I just came inside and it is super cold and windy out. So this is how everything is wearing so far. Let me bring you in closer. So here's the eyeshadow. You can see it's doing great. There's no creasing. I'm actually really loving this color story. As for the blush, you can see it's still present. So is the highlighter. This is how the foundation's wearing. Again, I'm just not really thrilled with it. I don't think it's great. And then the lip gloss actually pretty much just wore off. You know, I was eating and I can actually still feel a tiny bit of it on my lips, but it's essentially gone. So here it is from a distance again. And then we'll do one more update before I take everything off, so you can see how it wears for a longer period of time. I'll see you soon. All right, so this is the final update. It's been 9 hours, and again, I'm like freezing, a little out of breath. We just came back from our nighttime walk, Sadie and I. So, oh, and here she is. And there she goes again. She's running around. She's always super crazy after her walks. So anyway, this is how everything has worn. And let me bring you in. All right, so here's the eyeshadow. You can see there is a tiny bit of creasing. I wouldn't say it's anything like major or terrible. Like, it's not a deterrent for me. The mascara has held up well. There's no flaking or anything. You can see even when I rub my lashes here, I'm not getting anything on my finger or underneath my eyes. And actually, it doesn't feel stiff. They feel kind of soft, which is surprising. So here's the blush. You can still see the blush. You know, I would say it has faded a little bit though. It's not as pigmented as it was earlier. You can still see the highlight. And here's the foundation. So again, I'm not super happy with the foundation. And I feel like where it looked patchy originally, it now looks even worse. So I'm just not loving it. And I feel like it looks oily in certain places. So I definitely had some like breakthrough, but it's not hot. I mean, like, I think our temperature has been like, feel like below 10 all day. So I haven't been sweating or anything, but yeah. So overall, that's how it all wore. And I would have to say, still happy with the eyeshadow and the mascara. You know, definitely gonna play around more with the primer and the Danessa Myricks foundation. I'm not loving. I'll try it out again, but I don't know. I don't have high hopes for it. Blush, I like. Can't wait to try more products from Neen. And the lip gloss, although it's gone now, I do really enjoy that one. So I hope this has been helpful. So I hope all of this has been helpful. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon.